Welcome back to Jess Checks Out, where I talk about books. My name is obviously Jess, and you'll notice I have a glare now because I have a ring light and we're still experimenting on how this is going to work. Because you see, I can't see without these. So it kind of creates a bit of a problem. Now, this is my first book review on the channel, and I'm going to make it kind of short, but I really wanted to talk about it because Jess Owens has been talking up this book for ages, and I definitely wanted to kind of talk about it. So, I am talking about Amari and the Night Brothers, which is a middle grade book set contemporaneously, probably like it's in a big city. So imagine there are parts about a school in Scotland that we don't talk about, and there's a bunch of men in black with a bunch of other stuff. I don't read enough middle grade, so I know they called it like Artemis Fowler, but I don't know, I haven't read that, so I can't give you that reference. But I read it and oh my god, it was so good. It was like one of the top 5 reads of the year, and I only have like maybe 16 of those this year, and that's pretty low, all things considered. I love Amari. So Amari is, I'll give you the basic rundown, but I can put the description actually in the box below because I think that's a little bit better, honestly. But basically, Amari is looking for her brother Quinton, who has been missing, and no one knows what's going on or how he is. And, you know, her mom, or their mom rather, is all like, you know, what's going on? And she's kind of accepted that her son is missing permanently, and Amari is just like, F that. And then Quinton sends a suitcase that is she's allowed to open because when you turn like between, I think it's like 12 and something, when you turn around that age, you are initiated, if you were so chosen, to be in this organization. And her brother's like, hell yeah, Amari is amazing, which she is. So Quinton sends this, and he's, you know, allowing her to be in the system, and this is a really cool idea. Basically, oh, sorry, if you notice I changed the background because I didn't want to see the orange. I don't like the orange. Anyway, moving on. You know, he's like, you should join us. It's like this great, this is the Men in Black part where like you're, you know, allowed in if you're a legacy. And of course she's a legacy now because it turns out, surprise, Quinton is in it. And like no one had any idea because, you know, he goes to like top-notch schools, like Harvard type schools. So it's kind of awesome. And so it was really nice to see that, you know, she really wanted to help him because like no matter what, she was still posting pictures like, hey, my brother is missing, can someone find him? And so she gets to the school, and it's a summer program, and you know, it's dealing with the supernatural. And what was great is there's this building called the Vanderbilt building, and it reminded me of the building in Atlanta, which was formerly a hotel, and I think now it's condos, but it's this huge almost city block, and it reminded me so much of that, and I love that. And BB Alston does an amazing job of putting these descriptions of where she's from and where, you know, other people are from, and the fact that like, she has to face all these microaggressions all the time. I can't really talk about the racism, not from a me perspective, but I can tell you what I saw and what I read, and I definitely read that, you know, she's been mistreated. She's considered to be lesser than because she's not, you know, from a rich family, which not that many famously rich families in the world that are black. And so it's this very like clear way of giving, you know, children that are seen as lesser just because of something that's not under their control, a lot more representation. And I think that's awesome. And so, you know, there's this feeling of she doesn't fit in, and, you know, she meets her roommate, who is Elsie, and Elsie is a dragon that can't change, and I love it, and it was the best. But what I really loved about Elsie and Amari is their outcast personality really made them in really good friends. And so I thought it was really cool the way that, you know, Alston really put the work into their friendship. It wasn't a friendship of, you know, how sometimes books will have them of like convenience, whatever. Like Elsie and Amari really had each other's backs, and that was super huge, I think, for this book. And then she gets paired up with Dylan, who is like a Van Helsing. Oh yeah, there's a ton of pop culture references in this book. And, you know, Dylan and his twin Laura are Van Helsings, and their older sister was working with Quinton, and they're both been missing in this whole thing. And so it's been a whole conversation. And them working together are kind of becoming Vanquish, which is the, you know, kind of smush name of Peters, of Quinton and Maria, which is their sister, their older sister. So it's this great mix. And in between all this, you also meet a few other people. And I'm not going to go through the entire cast list because it's huge. But I'm talking about the people that I really felt like they were really important to the story. And that was Agent Magnus and Fiona, who are investigators, kind of like how Quinton and Maria were. And, you know, Magnus has totally got Amari's back, believes that she can do what she wants to do. You know, she tries not to be a junior agent, which is, again, what her brother was doing. And, you know, she's working with Dylan, which makes, you know, her sister Laura upset because they're twins and they're supposed to always be working together. And it's this whole thing. And in between all of this, all of them are investigating what happened to Quinton and Maria. And I love that. You know, Amari and Elsie are working really hard, really strong. And during like one of the, it's a monthly session. It's almost like Day of the Dead where they can come back and kind of communicate. And there's this really cool thing. And, you know, Amari meets this person she doesn't expect to meet. And she learns a little bit. And there's just this really cool connection, I think, between them. And Elsie kind of works together. And they're like becoming best friends. And then, you know, Dylan has secrets. Pretty big secrets, in fact. And so it's really interesting to see how it is. And Amari turns out that she is a magician, which I don't think that should be a spoiler, but she's a magician. And so that's something not allowed. And it puts her, again, as the outsider. She was already the outsider being the poor kid, not being a legacy kid, and now she's a, you know, magician. But Elsie doesn't hold that against her. You know, Magnus, Fiona, none of them hold this against her. And I think that's so important because I think that sometimes, so when I read some books that are about a Black American's experiences, you know, a lot of times they're written in a way that talks about the tragedy, right? And tragedy is huge, but it's not the only thing happening in someone's life. Life is complicated. It's messy. It's such a thing. But the way that Alston puts us in and the way that he shows the different facets of Amari's life, like they get to go back home for a little while and, you know, you find out that Elsie is an orphan because her parents were dead. She was like found in the bottom of the ocean unhatched, basically. So you find all this information out and you realize how important found family is in this book. And I think that's pretty freaking cool. But also she's not ashamed of her like socioeconomic status either. Like sometimes it can bother her because she doesn't have the same opportunities, but it's not because of like jealousy or anything. It's more an annoyance and an acknowledgement of the unfairness of it all. But then she also turns around because she's like, I guess, you know, she's from like the not so great part of the tracks, literally across the tracks. So if you know anything about, especially in the South, when you say you're on the wrong side of the tracks, you know what that means. And so she's from that side, but she's also got friends there too. Like Quinton was helping mentor this kid, Jaden, and she still doesn't forget about that. Like all this stuff is going on in her life, but she cannot forget that. And I think that's an important element to this book is she doesn't forget things. Like there's one scene that I think is amazing. I'm not going to talk about what happens because I don't want to spoil it. But I think that it's one that if you read it, you will know why it's so important. And it's about 70-75% in. So to give you a basic idea, I listened to this on audiobook, by the way, and Amani Parks like blew it out of the water. She did a great job of kind of giving each character their own voice, but still making it appropriate for middle grade. And I think that's an amazing accomplishment because sometimes we don't make books that are for kids. We make books that are labeled for kids, but they're really made for adults, right? And so I really appreciated the fact that, you know, Parks kept that in her voice work, and I was really engaged. I was listening to it at twice the speed just because that's average for me now when it comes to audiobooks, but as I listen to more, I can go faster. But I really appreciated the effort she put into this. And I feel like there's a lot of expectations in this book, and some of them are met and some of them are not. And I don't mean our, like, as a reader's expectations, I mean for a character to have the expectations of themselves. And I think it does a really good job of discussing, you know, the highs and lows and stuff like that. So I highly recommend this book. I can see exactly why Jess Owens has been hyping this up. But I'm going to put the description in the box below so that way you can kind of read it. But I highly recommend it. There's a lot of value in it, and I'm going to link to a couple more people's. I'm definitely going to link to Jess Owens because, again, she hyped this book up since last year, and I have been waiting so long to read it because here in Germany we don't have access to it, like not in my local library. It is not available, but Scribd had it, so but it was only an audiobook, and I was like, sign me up, big score, I got what I wanted. So I was really happy with that, and I'm really glad I was able to get it while I still have my Scribd subscription because it's kind of expensive, so I'm waffling on that. But I really appreciated the fact that I was able to understand, and I think that as a white woman, but formerly a white girl from the South in the 80s and 90s, I understand why this is valuable, right? Because I had representation all over the place. Like that was TV for quite a while, but the 90s had a lot more. I'm not gonna say a lot more. But they had more options for diversity, but it wasn't the same. Like there weren't a lot of kids shows and stuff like that, and so I can see why this is such an important, valuable book because it shows a young girl who is secure in herself, who may have self-doubts, but she knows who she is. And so I think that it really helps a lot. I literally don't have a whole lot more I can say because I don't want to give any more away about the book because I don't think it deserves to be, you know, cut off at the knees like that. But if you want a good middle grade book, and again, I'm 40 this year, I'm still reading the middle grade book, so you don't have to be a kid to read it. But if you want to read it, I would highly suggest it, and I think that if you want kids to read a book that has value, then definitely read it. I think this is a book that's really important, and I think they're making a movie. Maybe. I know they've been talking about it. I don't know if it's actually going to happen because there's something going around that's shutting down the world at the moment. But I really hope it does because I think it's really important to show that, and I think it's important to show little girls that it's okay to be valuable without it being like, being valuable is more important than making sure someone else feels okay. You know what I mean? So I think that it's a really important element, and I really hope the movie does get made. So I would definitely recommend it. I think that if you have a kid or you are in the mood for something that is refreshingly different, then I would definitely take an eye on it. And again, I am so sorry for the glare, but I can't not take my glasses off. I'm sorry. I gotta keep them. They kind of got stays on my face so I can see. Sorry. But I hope you guys have a really good day. I hope that you go find a book that makes you smile like this one did. Again, full 5 stars. Any part that I did not like was immediately like taken away and something better was found. I flew through this book. It was amazing, and Jess, God bless for giving me this recommendation because I probably would have missed it because I don't read middle grade normally. It's just not my thing. But you know, between this and then Gavin and Jess talking about root magic, I'm really enjoying these books set where little girls have some kind of power of themselves, and I think that's such an important representation. So I guess if you waited till here, you can find all my information in the box below. Also, you can find out where to find me, blah, blah, blah. You can Also, I guess leave the most interesting fantasy creature you can think of in the comments below and tell me what fantasy book you like. I mean, like, what book makes you go, maybe we should. Okay, guys, I'm going to stop talking now because I had to have some teeth pulled this week. So, see this? Do you see this face? I am working for you when I just had my teeth pulled. I had multiple teeth pulled. But I love you guys enough that I'm going to come on the camera. Okay, guys. See you next time. Enjoy the B-roll. Bye.